Part 31. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 301. Lawyer Zhou's face changed drastically, and he looked at Tan Jun suddenly, as if surprised. As a witness, Qin Jun's expression at this moment was calmer than that of Lawyer Zhou, who was experienced in court trials. The money was given by Gu Shao, he replied. The court was in an uproar. Qin Jun said again, is this strange? I can clear Gu Shao's suspicion by testifying in court. Isn't it normal for Gu Shao to give me some money in order to express his gratitude? He met Yu Yang's gaze expressionlessly, and asked back, does the prosecutor think that I am committing perjury? When the sun shines on the glass window, it is indeed impossible to see the situation in the room clearly, but how do you know that it was the big day, sunny day? Even if it's sunny, how do you know there are no clouds that day? If a cloud just drifts over and blocks the sun, I can still see what's going on inside the house. When Yu Yang heard this, he was neither angry nor angry, but thought about his words very carefully, and then said to the judge, in order to prove the credibility of the testimony, we apply to the Meteorological Bureau to obtain the weather monitoring records of the day when the case occurred. Qin Jun's testimony determined whether Gu Yan was convicted of the crime, and the judge approved it after consideration. The judge announced an adjournment to continue the trial 3 days later. Chu Mingjun couldn't stop talking, and said to Mu Ziyi, this witness is too powerful. Ordinary people would have panicked long ago, but he was able to ask the question of whether it was sunny or cloudy after the prosecutor questioned him, and he could also confidently say that the bribe was a thank you, which is simply amazing. Mu Ziyi looked at the defense bench. Lawyer Zhou was sitting there, as if mourning. The perjury is probably true. Go and find out what's going on, Mu Ziyi whispered to Chu Mingjun. Chu Mingjun nodded, and went to the lawyer team to inquire about the news. Mu Ziyi picked up her bag and was about to go out first, but just 2 steps away, she was stopped by Guanxi Tong. Miss Mu, can I take a step to speak? Mu Ziyi smiled, okay. The two found a secluded place, and Tongwu didn't go around with Mu Ziyi, and said bluntly, it seems that this case will have to work hard for Miss Mu in the future. Once it is found out that Attorney Zhou is suspected of forging a statement, not only will his lawyer's qualification certificate be revoked, but he will also face jail time. Naturally, he will no longer be able to defend Gu Shao. Mu Ziyi's expression remained unchanged, with a faint smile on his face. It's hard work, but I have principles in handling cases, and how to fight the lawsuit must be done according to what I said. Understood. Tongwu nodded. The legal team will be disbanded today. Mu Ziyi was slightly taken aback. She didn't expect the other party to be so courageous. A team of gold medal lawyers would leave as soon as they said it. She couldn't help explaining, don't mind, the ability of the lawyer team is unquestionable. It's just that everyone has their own set of ways to fight a lawsuit. It's like a chef teaching a driver how to drive, and a driver teaching a chef how to do it. Dishes are constrained on both sides, making it difficult to play. Of course we won't restrain Miss Mu. Tongwu smiled and asked, I just don't know, how sure is Miss Mu? Mu Ziyi pondered for a moment, then replied, actually, I only have a 5-point chance of winning, and there are still 2 points that need time to verify. Tongwu asked, 3 points left? Mu Ziyi smiled, the remaining 3 points depend on luck. It's much better than young Master Gu expected. Tongwu had a kind smile on his face. Except for luck, there is a 7-point chance of winning. Not bad. In terms of time, we will try our best to deal with Miss Mu. Thank you. Tongwu said goodbye to Mu Ziyi and left first. Not long after, Chu Mingjun came over and told Mu Ziyi, it's really a perjury, the 1.6 million is the remuneration, but it's strange. In order to avoid being discovered, Lawyer Zhou prepared cash. Who knew that guy would deposit the money in the bank? Otherwise, Yu Yang would not have found out. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 302. It's really strange. I frowned slightly, and murmured, it feels like, to be discovered on purpose. Isn't it? Is it true that the jury is all idiots? He said that the money was for others to thank him, but who would believe it? It was obviously bought by the money. After Chu Mingjun complained, he was a little envious. 1.6 million, that's a lot. I laughed, don't be greedy, the court will be held again in a few days, go get ready. Huh, Chu Mingjun was stunned for a moment, huh? You mean, us? Well, according to the original strategy, delay the time on the grounds of submitting forensic identification, and at the same time find a way to find the same cat for DNA identification. Chu Mingjun understood, and his emotions suddenly rose. Master Gu finally knows that they are unreliable. After being excited, he was a little nervous again, looking at I anxiously. What if we lose? I think that prosecutor named Yu Yang is very difficult to deal with. I smiled helplessly, don't think so much, let's do our job well, do our best, have a clear conscience, and I believe we will gain something. I will do my best, Chu Mingjun patted his chest. For nothing else, just thinking about the 1.6 million yuan, Chu Mingjun felt that he must not let down the great opportunity in front of him. On the afternoon of the day when the trial ended, Attorney Zhou was asked to accept police investigation, temporarily dismissed from the position of chief lawyer, and the gold medal lawyer team was subsequently disbanded. After the news came out, the journalists were the happiest. They finally have something to write about. Mingjun law firm took over the case of the Gu family's second young master with full authority, and once again hit the headlines. Before the news could be published, Chu Mingjun couldn't hold back his surging mood. He called and confided to I, Miss Sister, I regret it so much. I knew I would become famous. When I opened the law firm, I should really find a master and choose a good name. Why do I want to save trouble? At this time, I had just returned home. She was walking towards Xiaoanglu with her skull bag in her hand, and said with a smile, what's the matter with the name? I think it sounds pretty good. What does it sound like? Mingjun Law Firm, it has a rustic atmosphere, as if it popped out from the side of some printing shop. I laughed loudly, it's a bit similar, but it's very kind. Chu Mingjun was depressed, now I want to change it, but I can't change it. I laughed even harder. Laughing, she inadvertently glanced at Mu Zhenning in the garden. She hadn't seen Mu Zhenning for a long time. I's laughter subsided, her expression became indifferent, she hung up the phone, and when she passed by Mu Zhenning, she said hello lightly, third brother. Mu Zhenning nodded helplessly as a response. There was something strange in his eyes, which made Musa feel very uncomfortable. As he walked into the house, that scorching gaze never seemed to move away from her. Huh? Zizi, why aren't you wearing a school uniform today? Bai Wei asked suspiciously when she saw Mu Zhi entering the house. It was only then that Mu Zhi realized why Mu Zhenning looked at her with that look just now. She's lost her head. When he came out of the court, he forgot to change back into his school uniform, and now he was still wearing the black suit he wore when he appeared in court. Of course, Mu Zhenning would find it strange. Musa's heartbeat suddenly became a little flustered, and she panicked. If it's someone else, maybe it's nothing, but the other party is Mu Zhenning. As her husband, Mu Zhenning knew best how she would dress up when she appeared in court, but he had personally sent her to the gate of the court countless times. Mu Zhi was very annoyed. It must be because Murongcheng disturbed her mind that she made such a mistake. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 303. Muzi blamed all the crimes on Murong Cheng. This kind of mistake that could have been avoided happened to her, it really shouldn't be. After a moment of panic, Muzi quickly regained her composure and explained, the school uniform is in my school bag, and this one on me, is for club activities. Oh Bai Wei didn't ask much, and said, go wash your hands and come over to eat. By the way, ask your brother to come down too. He was sleeping just after he came back. He said he was jet-lagged. He should wake up after a long sleep. Otherwise, he will be late at night, can't sleep. Jet lag? He returned to Qingjiang City 2 days ago, okay. Really know how to act? What kind of family head should you be? Just go and become the actor. Muzi went upstairs full of complaints. Back in her room, she found Murong Cheng lying on her bed. Muzi shameless. Murong Cheng was sleeping. Muzi didn't want to talk to him, put down his school bag, turned around and went to the bathroom. She took off her black coat, washed off the overly mature makeup on her face, let her braids loose, and felt much more relaxed. When she was about to go back to her room, Muzi glanced at a few ribbons scattered in the trash basket in the bathroom, and looking inside, it was an open gift box. She thought it looked familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen it before. She opened the door of the bathroom and was about to go out when she suddenly remembered, wasn't that a gift from Tongwu? When Tongwu and Chu Mingjun came to visit at home, they gave her a gift in Gu Shao's name, and she put it on the table afterwards, without even opening it. Now, who unwrapped her gift and threw it in the trash? Muzi bit her lips tightly, and there was a surge of anger in her heart. The garbage bags on the outer layer of the trash can are replaced every day, and they are very clean. Holding back her anger, Muzi took out the gift box and looked through it, but it was empty. She threw the gift box back into the trash can and went back to the house with an ugly face. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Murong Cheng leaning against the head of the bed, reading with a stack of things in his hand, and her school bag beside her. Murong Cheng. Muzi was so angry that he couldn't bear it anymore, so he rushed forward a few steps and took the case file from Murong Cheng's hand. Can you fix this bad habit? Muzi reprimanded indifferently, don't touch my things. Murong Cheng said indifferently, just woke up, just look at something casually to relieve fatigue. Then he yawned, as if the jet lag had not reversed. Muzi took a deep breath. Bai Wei was downstairs. She didn't want to argue with Murong Cheng in front of her mother. Where's my stuff? She asked. What? Murong Cheng looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. A gift from someone else. Muzi lowered her voice, almost gnashing her teeth. You can't be so unreasonable and just dispose of things that others gave me. Murong Cheng's eyes were a little colder, and he said, someone else, who else? Didn't you say you hate the necklace? I'll throw it away for you. Threw. It was hers. Why did Murong Cheng throw it away? She hadn't opened the gift box, didn't know it contained a necklace, and Murong Cheng threw it away without even seeing what the necklace looked like. Murong Cheng, are you sick? Muzi was so angry that she couldn't lose her temper anymore. You should go to the hospital and see a psychiatrist. She really felt that Murong Cheng was sick, and it was not serious. His outrageous possessiveness and unreasonable brain circuit made Muzi collapse. Murong Cheng smiled, pulled Muzi into his arms, and touched her face. I saw you were working on Guyan's case. Why, are you in trouble? Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 304. Muzi was angry with him. She turned her face away and did not answer. Murong Cheng's kiss fell lightly, his forehead was pressed against her forehead intimately, his voice was slightly hoarse. Are you angry with me? Zizi, you know, this is useless. I have plenty of ways to make you talk. Muzi said angrily, yeah, you are really amazing. Does bullying your sister feel a sense of accomplishment? Murong Cheng pinched her buttocks, don't speak eccentrically. Muzi bit her lip, her face became even more ugly, apparently thinking of how he tied up her last time. Spanking, the pain is second to none, the most important thing is that she is embarrassed. At her age, she can't think about being spanked by an asshole pervert. The more I think about it, the hotter it gets. Investigate the case, just play casually, don't tire yourself, it's not worth it. Murong Cheng lay down with his arms around her, and talked to her lazily, anyway, Gu Liang will have a way get his brother out. Muzi's voice was alienated and indifferent, in the eyes of you people, the murder case is just a joke, isn't it? Murong Cheng smiled, and ran his fingers through her cool and soft black hair, although your words are a bit harsh, but it is true, if the second young master of the Gu family is sent to jail because of a woman, it would be a real joke gone. What about the murderer? Muzi asked him, that woman died in vain. What's wrong with her? She dated Gu Shao for the sake of fame and fortune. No one cares why she even lost her life is the murderer under the law. Muzi was angry. She hates these people who ignore the law and act recklessly. The girl named Wu Xinhan was only 20 years old. She also had a father and mother. Her family must have put their hopes on her, thinking that her daughter would be prosperous and wealthy in a big city. Who knew that she would die so tragically? The dignitaries involved in the case only wanted to calm down the incident as soon as possible, and no one cared who the real culprit was. After being angry, Muzi felt deeply sad. In some respects, Murong Cheng and those dignitaries are essentially the same, they all regard human life like ants. And her heart that wanted to uphold justice seemed particularly naive and ridiculous. Murong Cheng ran his hands through the thick black hair, hugged her tightly from behind, kissed the back of her neck, and asked, want to win the lawsuit? Muzi bit her lips and remained silent. Murong Cheng asked her again, I saw the documents and materials for applying for judicial appraisal. If approved, this lawsuit will be postponed. Zizi, do you want to delay? Muzi finally spoke, I found some clues, I need time to investigate further. What needs to be investigated? Murong Cheng lightly bit her earlobe, rubbed his fingertips on her waist, tell me, maybe I can help you. Muzi didn't want to talk to him at all. She wanted to say that she didn't care for his help, but when the words came to her lips, she swallowed them back. The Huo family's influence is everywhere, and Murong Cheng is even more powerful and helpful, so why doesn't she use it? Muzi was not hypocritical, turned over, and told him, there was a handkerchief at the scene of the murder, neither Gu Shao's nor the deceased's. I suspect it was left by the murderer. The laboratory found a cat hair on it. Now we are trying to find a way to investigate all the residents who have cats in the community where the murder occurred. Murong Cheng held her face in his hands and kissed her hard, brother, help me. Muzi frowned, feeling her lips hurt slightly from being sucked by him, but right now she couldn't care less about scolding him, and asked, how can you help me? However, Murong Cheng put on a show, after dinner, I'll take you to a place. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 305. Dusk in winter is especially short, but after a while, the sky has already darkened. Standing by the window, Mu Zhenning looked at the small foreign-style building with white walls and red roofs in the distance. The warm lighting seemed to drape a thin veil over the house, making it hazy and romantic. Somehow, envy was born. Compared with the gorgeous building he lives in at the moment, it seems that it is more comfortable and reveals the warmth of home. Since Suzy passed away, this family has become more and more homeless. Mu Zhenning looked at the photo of his wife on the table, the familiar voice and smile, but felt more and more strange and alienated. He couldn't help but think of meeting Mu Zi downstairs just now. Seeing her approaching from a distance, he mistook it for Su Zi to come back. It's so similar. Not only the costumes are similar, but also the walking posture and frowning expressions are very similar. They are clearly two completely different people. Why are they so similar? And, why didn't he think that Mu Zi was like his wife before? Some ideas were so absurd that Mu Zhenning didn't dare to think about them. He was upset and planned to go to the study to deal with work matters, so as to numb himself. When passing by Mu Ling's room, the servant was coaxing Mu Ling to eat. Mu Ling visited the doctor several times, but she still didn't get better. She was crazy all day long. If no one fed her, she wouldn't know she was hungry. Mu Zhenning felt sorry for her. Such a young girl, how can she be crazy? There is a ghost, she is a ghost, she wants to harm me. Go away. Don't harm me, go away. Mu Ling curled up at the foot of the bed, her pale face had empty eyes, her mouth kept murmuring. Didn't you go to the hospital? Why didn't you get better? Mu Zhenning frowned and asked the servant. The servant replied in embarrassment. The doctor introduced a hospital in Jingzhou, saying that it specializes in treating mental illnesses, but Mr. Rong Xian has been very busy recently and has no time to take Miss Mu Ling to Jingzhou. Hearing this, Mu Zhenning frowned even deeper. He knew that his elder brother was very concerned about fame and wealth, but Mu Ling was his biological daughter, so he couldn't just let her go. The family has indeed become more and more unsightly recently. Mu Zhenning decided to go to Mu Rongxian to have a good talk, and when he turned around to leave, the servant in the room suddenly let out an exclamation. It was Mu Ling who overturned the bowl and jumped on the servant like crazy, hitting and kicking again. Crying, "Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me, go away! I know you're a ghost! You're a ghost!" The maid didn't dare to fight back. She was beaten several times. She couldn't take it anymore. She ran out of the room with tears in her eyes, and said to Mu Zhenning at the door, "Sir, I really can't do this job anymore. Miss is like this now, she still needs to hire someone to take care of her." Before Mu Zhenning could speak to persuade her to stay, the maid had already run away quickly. Obviously she was about to resign from her job. Mu Zhenning was suffering from a headache. Recently, there have been several accidents at home, and more servants have resigned. Looking at the room again, Mu Ling's mood calmed down. Perhaps because she had beaten the ghost away, she no longer went crazy, but sat by the bed in a daze. Mu Zhenning sighed deeply, called another servant to clean the room, and then went to find Mu Rongxian. Mu Rongxian was also in a state of desperation at the moment. "Didn't you agree? Why didn't you come again? Those rumors outside are all nonsense." Mu Rongxian lost his temper on the phone, hung up the phone irritably, raised his eyes, and saw Mu Zhenning standing at the door of the study for some reason. "Why are you here?" he asked. Mu Zhenning said, "Brother, I just saw Xiao Ling making a fuss again. It won't work if it goes on like this. She must be treated by a doctor. She is only 17 years old, so she can't just live like this for the rest of her life." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 306. Mu Rongxian became even more irritable when he heard the words, "Zhenning, I really can't take care of it. Since the housekeeper resigned and the servants left one after another, everything is in chaos. I want to pay a high price to hire a housekeeper. No matter how much the price is increased, no one can be hired. An experienced butler of a mansion is an extremely scarce commodity in the wealthy circle. If there is such a housekeeper in the family, the master doesn't have to worry about trivial matters, and the master's face is also very glorious." Mu Rongxian vomited bitterly. I have to be busy with work, and I also have to take care of the messy things at home. The new year is coming soon, and I have to organize a New Year banquet. The death day of the old man is coming soon. I need to prepare for everything. How can I have time to take care of my children? Spirit to heal the disease. Mu Zening asked, why can't anyone be invited? Mu Rongxian raised his hand and rubbed the center of his brows, and sighed, now there are rumors outside that our Mu family is haunted by ghosts. It's so old, and there are still people who really believe it. Those words are passed on clearly, even the wife's car accident take it out and say it, alas. Mu Zening was silent for a while when he heard the words. The family has been really not peaceful these years. First, the second brother was imprisoned, then Mrs. Mu died in a car accident, then Suzy I accidentally fell into the river, Mu Zi committed suicide, and then almost drowned in her own artificial lake. Now it is Mu Ling who has gone crazy. It seems that all the bad luck has been caught up by the Mu family, no wonder the servants at home are talking about it. Even he himself sometimes wished he could go to the temple to worship and burn a few sticks of incense. Recently, the company's affairs are not so important, why don't I take Xiaoling to Jingzhou? Mu Zening considered carefully, and said carefully, you can't delay Xiaoling's illness just because there are too many things at home. For the disease, the sooner it is treated, the better, and if it is delayed for a long time, it may be difficult to recover. Mu Rongxian was overjoyed, and said, of course this is the best. Mu Zening felt a little uncomfortable, and Mu Rongxian was not polite at all, so he entrusted his daughter to him, but after thinking about it, it is a family after all, and it is quite unreasonable to leave the trivial matters at home to the eldest brother of. I'll go back and look at my schedule and make some arrangements. Mu Zening was about to go back to his room, but was stopped by Mu Rongxian again. Zening, Mu Rongxian said, our family should also need a mistress. These things in the family really make me useless. Mu Zening turned around in astonishment, and asked, brother, do you want to? Mu Rongxian waved his hands with a wry smile, I'm already in my 50s, wouldn't it be a joke to get married again? I mean you, Zening, you should make plans for yourself. When Mu Zening heard this, his expression was dull, brother, Zi has just left for half a year, I understand, Mu Rongxian stopped him and persuaded, I'm not telling you to get married now, but to plan first, people, you always have to look forward, don't you? Mu Zening subconsciously frowned, brother. Mu Rongxian asked again, last time you said that Jiao Jingjia is Mayor Jiao's daughter. Is this true? Mu Zening didn't want to talk anymore. After a few casual words, he returned to the room, just in time to receive a text message from Jiao Jingjia, asking him to borrow money, and Mu Zening was even more upset. I didn't want to pay attention to it, but thinking of what Jiao Jingjia had done for him, he couldn't help but soften his heart. Mu Zening replied to the message and agreed to meet, put on his coat and went downstairs to the garage, and drove out to meet Jiao Jingjia. Unfortunately, they ran into Mu Rongcheng and Mu Zi, who were about to drive out as well. Under the blue-white streetlight in front of the garage, the brother and sister chattered, and Mu Zi cursed all the way. You must be uneasy and kind, I won't go, let me go. Bastard, stinky rascal. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 307. Mu Zi felt that she was definitely fooled. How could she trust Mu Rongcheng? He promised to help her, but in the end he had to take her to the hotel. Mu Zi was puzzled. How can going to the hotel at night help her case? Then think of Mu Rongcheng's dirty mind, therefore, Mu Zi desperately resisted and refused to give in. Mu Rongcheng dragged her for a while, feeling cumbersome, he simply picked her up. When Mu Zi struggled again, Mu Rongcheng threatened, if you don't obey, I will throw you into the lake. Mu Zi Water is her nemesis. Mu-Zi was honest. Mu-Rong-Cheng carried her to the side of the car, opened the door and pushed it in. When he turned around and walked to the driver's seat, he saw Mu Zening at the garage door. He greeted casually, "Third brother." Mu Zening's expression froze slightly. He looked at Mu-Rong-Cheng in a daze, and then at Mu-Zi in the car. "You?" "Oh, I'm taking Zizi out to play." Mu-Rong-Cheng didn't explain too much. While talking, he got into the car and started the car. As the car drove away, Mu Zening looked at the back of the faraway car, feeling strange in his heart. He walked to his car, opened the door and got in. After sitting for a while, he slowly regained his senses. "I always feel, Mu-Rong-Cheng and Mu-Zi seem to be too close. Even if they grew up together, as brothers and sisters, isn't the behavior just now a little too much?" The scene of Mu-Rong-Cheng hugging Mu-Zi came to mind. The two bodies were so tightly embedded, so intimate. When Mu-Rong-Cheng leaned over to speak, his and Mu-Zi's faces were almost touching. Mu Zening felt tight in his chest and felt uncomfortable. He felt strange. Why should he mind? Originally, it had nothing to do with me. Mu-Zi sat in the car silently. Mu-Rong-Cheng glanced in the rearview mirror, saw that she didn't speak, and asked, "Are you really angry?" "I was teasing you. How could I be willing to throw you into the lake?" Mu-Zi closed her eyes, leaned back on the back seat, and said in a cold voice, "He saw it?" Hearing this, Mu-Rong-Cheng tightened his grip on the steering wheel slightly. "Do you mind being seen by him?" "Why don't you mind?" Mu-Zi asked him back, without anger or sarcasm, just telling a fact calmly. "If he sees it today, it may be seen by others tomorrow, and more people will see it in the future. In the end, everyone will know that she and her brother are ambiguous. Her reputation will rot into a puddle of mud, let others trample on her, and fall into an extremely embarrassing situation." And all of this was caused by Mu-Rong-Cheng. After Mu-Rong-Cheng listened carefully, knowing that she didn't care about Mu Zening, his mood eased a little. "Don't worry, Zizi, I won't let things develop to that point." Mu-Rong-Cheng drove the car, looking straight ahead. "I cherish your reputation more than you." Mu-Rong-Cheng is very clear about how hurtful gossip is. Back then, Bai Wei had personally experienced it. Just because she fell in love with Mr. Mu, who was over 50 years old, no one understood, no one agreed, and everyone accused and insulted him openly and secretly. Vanity, vixen, money-worshipping scheming girl, these kinds of words have long been numb to hearing, and there are some news tabloids, making up how Bai Wei serves the old lady Mu at night, and what's more, questioning whether Mu-Rong-Cheng is the real son of the old lady Mu. Those words included all kinds of dirty and smelly things. The Bai family also felt that such a daughter was really embarrassing. They broke contact with Bai Wei and never had any contact with her again. Mu-Rong-Cheng didn't want Mu-Zi to fall into such a situation. "I will pay attention in the future," he said lightly, as a guarantee to her. After hearing this, Mu-Zi was a little disheartened. The more cautious she is, the more embarrassing she feels sneaky. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 308. Mu-Rong-Cheng drove to Huake Royal Hotel. He led Mu-Zi into the elevator and went straight to the top floor. Mu-Zi was baffled. What did he take her to the rooftop at night on such a cold day? Watching a meteor shower? Then she saw a helicopter parked not far away. Mu-Zi was vigilant and refused to take a step forward. "Where are you taking me? Don't you want to find out who the murderer is?" Mu-Rong-Cheng was still playing tricks. "Take you to meet someone. There is nothing in this world that he doesn't know, only things he doesn't want to know." Mu-Zi was puzzled and curious, hesitated for a while, and boarded the helicopter with Mu-Rong-Cheng. The propeller speeds up, and the helicopter takes off. In the dark night, the whole city is only left with bright lights, outlining the outlines of high-rise buildings. Musi I couldn't help gathering her clothes. The high altitude flight made her feel a bit cold. There was a lot of wind outside. She vaguely heard Murong Cheng calling her name. She raised her eyebrows slightly and looked over. Murong Cheng held a pair of noise-cancelling headphones in his hand, put his hands on Musi I's head, then hugged her and put her on his lap. Musi I wants to say that she has her own place, and that she can't wear a seat belt. But Murong Cheng hugged her without hesitation, took the thick blanket prepared on the plane, and surrounded the two of them. The warmth enveloped the whole body in an instant, isolating the cold current from the outside world. Musi I opened her mouth, unable to utter any more complaints. Her head was huddled in the blanket, pressed against the man's chest, and her cheeks were hot for some reason. Is she throbbing again? Musi I suddenly became angry, as if she was annoyed at being lost for a while, and childishly vented her anger on Murong Cheng. Musi I put her cold hands into Murong Cheng's clothes, maliciously absorbing warmth. The freezing temperature caused the man's physical reflex to shiver. Murong Cheng chuckled softly in her ear, the hot breath from his breath brushed over his skin, making it tingly and itchy. Naughty! She heard him laughing. Musi I's face was on fire. She didn't want to be noticed by Murong Cheng. She buried her head deeper in the blanket. Without saying a word, she just silently felt her cold hands, bit by bit, warmed by Murong Cheng's body temperature. Just like her heart, it also warmed up bit by bit. Musi I thought, Murong Cheng is so kind to her, maybe one day, she will really degenerate, throw away all principles and morals, and be willing to be a shady lover. She will be completely lost in his tenderness. What should she do? Musi I curled up in Murong Cheng's arms. She was very confused. The subject of love was too difficult for her. A helicopter took them to another city. Musi I had never been to this place, and it was pitch black late at night, so he couldn't tell where it was for a while. Murong Cheng led Musi I into the elevator of an apartment building. Who are we going to see? Musi I was anxious. It's so late, will it be inconvenient? At this point in time, normal people should be asleep. Murong Cheng said, it's not too late, he just woke up at this hour. Musi I. The elevator arrived at the floor they were going to, and the surrounding was eerily quiet, only the footsteps of Murong Cheng and Musi I echoed in the corridor. She was a little nervous, and subconsciously followed Murong Cheng closely, always feeling that the place Murong Cheng took her to would be weird. Murong Cheng looked back at her, smiled, and gently held her hand. He stood before a door and rang the bell. After waiting for a while, the door was opened a crack, and a fat man with fair appearance stood behind the door, squinting his eyes and looked at the two vigilantly, and asked, "Do you have an appointment? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 309. Murong Cheng said, "The deposit paid 2 hours ago, the remitter surname is Wang." Hearing this, the fat man opened the door completely. "Come in." Musi I followed in suspiciously. A very common apartment, with luxurious decoration, a large living room, some fast food boxes piled up on the table, handmade models of movies and games can be seen everywhere, and a strong otaku atmosphere blows towards the face. The fat man took Murong Cheng and Musi I to a room dedicated to work. Inside was a very long table with several computers placed side by side. Surrounded by all kinds of unknown electronic equipment, it looked rather spectacular. The fat man sat down on an oversized computer chair, his round body suddenly piled up, and his fleshy creases were layered on top of each other, which had a somewhat comical effect. But his tone was not funny at all, but very indifferent and blunt, even though he knew that the other party was his benefactor. "Looking for what?" he asked. Murong Cheng looked at Mu Zi. Mu Zi was a little dazed. How should she call this? Just ask who owns a cat in Greentown. Will the other party think it's a joke? Qingjiang City, Greentown Community, someone raised a silver-white chinchilla cat. We want to know who this person is in the end. It was Murong Cheng who answered for Mu Zi. There was no trace of emotion on the fat man's face. He turned his chair and started typing on the computer. He was only responsible for finding out the information they needed for the donor, and he was not at all curious about the reason behind the information. Mu Zi saw that he had entered the property network management background of Greentown in a few moments, and couldn't help asking, who has cats, can I find it? Yes, the fat man buried his head in front of the computer without turning his head. People who own cats will definitely buy related products, such as cat food, cat litter, and canned cat food. You only need to check the consumption records of these households to know. Mu Zi was dumbfounded. She used to investigate other people's consumption records when handling cases, but it was targeted. After confirming that the other party was a suspect, she submitted a search application to her superiors, or hired a private investigator who wandered in a gray area. And this kind of large-scale search of other people's consumption records. Leaving aside the issue of technical difficulty, first of all, this kind of behavior is illegal, right? However, none of the matters related to Murong Cheng seemed to be legal and compliant. In this case, it seemed superfluous for her to consider these things. The search will take time, let's wait outside. Murong Cheng patted her on the shoulder lightly, and led her back to the living room. On the wall of the living room, there is a large LCD TV. Murong Cheng turned on the TV, picked a channel at random, and sat on the sofa with Mu Zi to watch TV. Mu Zi was a little embarrassed, and asked him, we just wait like this? Don't we need to do anything? Murong Cheng squinted at her, with a slight smile in his eyes. Otherwise, what do you want to do? In fact, Murong Cheng was just asking casually, but he was full of evil in Mu Zi's heart. Mu Zi suddenly wanted to go wrong, and immediately blushed angrily. Seeing that Mu Zi's reaction was wrong, Murong Cheng recalled it and teased her with a smile. What do you think I mean by doing what I said? I don't know, there's always something wrong in your head anyway. Mu Zi scolded him hard. My head is full of you. Murong Cheng smiled, reaching out to pinch her face. Mu Zi was so annoyed by Murong Cheng's pinching his face, she was about to scold him for making her face bigger, but when she remembered Murong Cheng's mouth full of dirty jokes, she couldn't help biting her lip, and could only stare at him fiercely to show her own anger. Murong Cheng smiled even more happily. He liked Mu Zi's angry look, like a cat with fried hair, making people want to rub him into his arms and love him. And once the cat becomes docile and soft, it will bring him indescribable satisfaction. Murong Cheng stopped quarreling with Mu Zi. He quietly watched TV with his arms around Mu Zi, enjoying the leisurely leisure. Even though the woman in his arms was a little awkward, Murong Cheng still felt that the years were peaceful and contented. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 310. Mu Zi was woken up by a strange sound. Only then did she realize that she had fallen asleep, on someone else's sofa, in Murong Cheng's arms. The posture was wrong, and she suffered from backache while sleeping, which was very uncomfortable. Sitting up with his forehead supported, he saw that fat man playing games in the living room. The sound that woke her up just now was the blasting sound effect in the game. What's the matter with this man? Why is he playing games? Has the result been found out? Unlike Mu Zi, Murong Cheng had a good night's sleep. He stretched his arms comfortably and asked, did you find out? The fat man focused on the game and said without looking back, on the table. On the table in the living room, there was indeed a stack of papers, of 4 size, about the thickness of a coin. The above is the information of the households who raised the chinchilla pet cat in the small town of Green. There are only 3 of them in total. There are more than 700 residents in the entire Greentown community. It takes less than 100 people to screen out 3 people from so many people and investigate their detailed information. One night is really unbelievable. Musey I couldn't help sighing, it's amazing how accurate the cat's breed can be. She thought that by relying on consumption records, at most she could find out who had cats. The fat man turned his back to them, and was pressing the game controller fiercely, but his tone of voice was unusually calm. People who keep cats like to post cats. You only need to log into these people's social network accounts, and look through the photos to know if you have cats. What cat? However, the photo albums of social network accounts usually have privacy protection, so logging in casually is actually illegal, right? As a former legal worker, Musa now has mixed feelings as she holds these illegally obtained materials. Next, as long as we get the cat hairs of these cats and do DNA comparison with the hair on the handkerchief, the case will be closed. Murong Cheng rubbed Musei's head and said, "Shall I introduce you to a laboratory? The DNA test can be done faster." Realizing that Murong Cheng's help was remarkable, Musei stopped being polite to him. It is the duty of every citizen to assist the prosecutor in investigating cases, so let her act as Murong Cheng is doing her duty. Musei nodded, continued flipping through the documents in his hand, and suddenly saw a familiar name. Huh, Musei was surprised. Murong Cheng asked her, "What's wrong?" "This." Musei pulled out the page. "This person is a witness invited by lawyer Joe, named Qin Jun. I didn't expect that he also raised a chinchilla cat. Is he the murderer?" Musei suddenly thought of the tall trees between the 2 apartments, thick branches, extending to the window. If Qin Jun used those trees, he could completely avoid the camera and sneak into Wu Xinhan's window directly from his own window. However, although those trees are tall and strong enough, they are still a little far away from the windows. If I really want to successfully pass the tree, not only the jumping ability is tested, but also the excellent balance ability is required. Will Qin Jun have such a good skill? She followed the information all the way down and found another unexpected discovery. Before Qin Jun became a fashion designer, he was actually a gymnast. This is so surprising. In addition to the accident, there was another feeling, so it was like this. It seems that Qin Jun deliberately accepted the money from lawyer Joe next, and then deliberately let Yu Yang notice that his bank flow was abnormal, because once the perjury was exposed and left a bad impression on the judge and jury, it would be very difficult for the second trial. Turned over. In order to get Gu Shao to go to prison, Tan Jun took the risk to give false testimony in court. How much does he hate Gu Shao? Musei was full of doubts. The man beside him had already carried her out, and said lazily, "Don't think about it, go back to Qingjiang first." Musei's thoughts were all on the case. She nodded unconsciously.